Glad to see everyone still, alive. That's one thing. The second thing is still a monk. Okay, it's not easy for someone to become a monk, and it's not easy for someone to be happy as a monk. That's the second thing. Okay, and the third one, which is more difficult than that, is not only you become a monk, you're happy as a monk, but you know how to practice the Dhamma. That's the most difficult one. Okay, not just I memorize the chanting, I memorize the teaching, but attitude-wise or behavior-wise, nothing changed. Okay, so look at these 3 months like a journey of habit development or self-development. If you yourself today, imagine you yourself the next 3 months, what would you like to change? Set some goal and then work on that. If you have no goal, nothing happens. So today's topic, I would like to introduce you to the story of the Buddha. Okay, as a Buddhist monk, okay, especially foreigner who become a monk. Some of you not from Buddhist background, so I think it's important for us to get to know the life of our teacher. Before Luang Pi forget, okay, I like to introduce you a book. To me, these 3 books, they are amazing books. Okay, the first one, this is The Foundation of Buddhism. Okay, by Rupert Kettin. This is one of my favorite writers. He wrote many good books. Okay, if you know nothing about Buddhism, okay, start from this one. It's very simple reading. And this is another good one. This is not like academic book, but this is more like academic, attitude, points of view. But this is like in general, anyone can read this book. This is very simple. It talks about the life of the Buddha in a different dimension, not from the perspective of academic people. Okay, it's a good one. These 2 books are good. Okay, this book also give the very rich information about the life of the Buddha, the name of the people, the name of the place, the number. Let's say if you want to know what did the Buddha do 45 years, where did he stay in a rain retreat, all information are here. Okay, and the name, the place, the people that he visited, this have more detail on that, including all the teaching of the Buddha, the core teaching, the 4 Noble Truths, the 8-fold Path, the 3-fold trainings. When we learn about the life of the Buddha, there are many ways to approach this topic. Okay. Usually people start off with, we talk about Prince Siddhartha. Prince Siddhartha, who is he? His father's mother, his wife, all the way. Okay, and that's one way of learning that. It is important to get to know that information. Okay, but to me, of course, I will touch on that briefly, not in detail, because all the detail is kept in here. You can read by yourself. This is biological fact. It's the fact. Everyone can find this information easily. But the question is, after you have gone through all of this information about the person background, what benefit you? It depends what you are looking at. Okay, so take this information, kind of just get to know the person, just a little bit. Okay, who he is, what did he do. But more important than that to me is to ask yourself, what can I learn from the story of that person? What value or what quality of that person that can benefit me? If you look at that dimension, you learn a lot. It's not only information about that person can also inspire you. Okay, because he has wisdom, he has something that we can learn from, and that's something that Luang Pi want to focus on, that area more than just the biological fact. Okay, but we will start from this side first and not in detail, and then we go to that direction. Okay, so hopefully you can learn something today that can inspire you and open up your eyes. And of course, if you want to know detail, here is the book. Okay, the book is we have library here, so you can dig deeper by yourself. So let me start off with the general fact, the life of the Buddha. The Buddha was a man, just like us, you and me. He was a man. Okay, he has father and he has mother. Okay, his father named Suddhodana. Okay? His father Suddhodana happened to be a king, right, in the Kabilapat. This place is a kingdom which claimed to be Lumbini in Nepal, where Prince Siddhartha was born. Okay, some of you from Nepal, you must be very proud that that's the land, the birthplace of the Buddha. So King Suttotana, he get married with Queen Maya, right? They have one son named Siddhartha. This is the person we are talking about today. Okay, and then later on he married Yasodhara, his wife. Okay, or Pimpa, good. And then they have son called. Okay, that's it. Okay, and after 7 days after the prince was born, his mother died. So King Suttotana get second married, right, to Pajapati. Okay, then they also have son and daughter. Okay, Nanda. Okay, Nanda Thera and Nanda Theri. They have son and daughter here, but we will not focus on that side. Here, I like to emphasize a certain age that I think it's important for us to know what happened during that age. Okay, until he died. So at the age of 7, he joined the ceremony called the plucking ceremony. Okay, I will explain a little bit. And then later on, eventually the prince get married, right? At the age of 16, he get married with Yasodhara. Okay, and then they have kids later. Okay, so at the age of 29, what happened? He go where? He renounced the world. He left the palace, right? He lived the prince life. Okay, and then at the age of 35, okay, he become enlightenment, and then at the age of 80, he passed away. He died. Okay, here he become the Buddha. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stations that we want to stop. Okay, later on detail you check on this book. Okay, at the age of 7, the young boy, the young Prince Siddhartha, okay, he had a chance to join this ceremony with his father, the plucking ceremony, and 2 things mentioned in the Buddhist text. Okay, the first thing, usually people remember this event as the first time that the young boy experienced inner peace or meditation. Okay, so he meditated for the first time. And the second thing that not many people may be aware of that if you don't really study the text. Okay, it mentioned that this is the first time that the prince noticed the suffering. He noticed the suffering. What he saw was, plucking ceremony is about agriculture, right? With the cow, with the rice. Okay, so he saw people do those kind of activities, and he noticed that there was a worm, underneath on the ground, the worm, and then there is a bird coming down and eat the worm. They start devouring the worm. Okay, the little boy was sitting there and noticed that the bird was devouring the worm, eating the worm. In his mind, that's how the text describes that this is the first time that the young boy noticed that, wow, life is so suffering. How come animal kill animal for food? People kill people for something. By witnesses the bird killing or eating the worm, the young boy feel very sympathy. He was not very happy, so he sit down and he meditate. Okay, and then here, as we told that it was the first time that he has a very good experience in meditation. Okay, he noticed the bright light inside his mind. Okay, and that's just one time. Later on, he think of these events when he went out and searched for the truth. He started his own meditation practice by remembering what happened when he was 7 years old. So he noticed suffering here for the first time when he saw the bird start eating all the worm in front of him. Okay, And then life goes on. He get married, at the age of 16. His wife Yasodhara, they are the same age. Okay, they get married. Life is good in the palace. Okay, father built him 3 palaces so he can stay in the rainy season, in the summer, and in the winter time. Okay, and everyone in the palace seemed to be, young, good-looking women. Okay, servants take good care of him. Life is good, and somehow the prince was a very smart young boy. Okay, even though his father wants to keep him in the palace because the father wants him to take over his throne and become the next king. But his destiny, not go that direction. So father did whatever he could to keep his son in the palace, okay, protected in the palace with all the luxurious life, with all the pleasure that available back then. But the prince was very smart young boy, okay, and eventually he had a chance to slip out the palace, okay, and that's what most of the Buddhist texts said, okay. So he sneaked out, and then not just one time, many times, okay. He noticed something called the foresight. Okay. What are the foresight? The first one is old age, old people. Okay. The second one is sickness. The third one is death, and the last one is aesthetic. These are the foresight. But what I found interesting is I cannot find this in the Buddhist text that clearly say that he saw these 4 things. Okay, it's only there's one particular sutra that talk about hell realms. People are suffering, and there's something mentioned 3 of these, not all of them. But there's no direct message that telling us that, hey, this is what the Buddha noticed, something called the foresight. That's what we have been told. Okay, as a Buddhist student, as a monk, you should prove it. Okay, go back to the original source where exactly that the Buddha, mentioned this. Okay, so I just want to mention this so get you curious. You can go find information by yourself. If anything at all that you have doubt, the best place to recheck is back to the Tipitaka, okay, to the Buddhist scripture. Even this book again is writing by someone. How do we know this information is correct? Okay, the best source, the most reliable source is Tipitaka. Anyway, let's follow along with the story. He went out and he noticed that, oh, how come that man get old? I never seen old people in my palace. How come the second time he went out, he noticed, oh, how come that lady become sick? What happened? What is this one? Okay, he himself, as a human being, from time to time we get sick, right? We get fever, we get diarrhea, we get headache. He knows, okay, but he went out and he may be seeing people who may be extremely ill, extremely sick, okay, cannot move and almost die and things like that, which his father preventing him from seeing that in the palace life. And eventually he noticed someone dying, people burn the body. He never seen people burn the body in the palace. Everything looked beautiful, flowers, the place, perfectly decorated. And he noticed that, oh, what is that one? Okay, and his servant said, this is called death, my lord. What is death? Okay, death means you die forever. You would stop breathing, and people burn your body. Okay, so he noticed death. And when he came back, he was not happy about what he witnessed. He felt like, well, what's the point of me enjoying happy life in the palace if one day I'm going to die? When death happened, that means I am completely, permanently separate from my loved one, from my palace, from my father, from my wife, from my children. Okay, so he started worrying about his future. He started worrying about life, not just for himself, but people around him, people he loved. We all face to this situation, this phenomenon, and unavoidable. No one can run away from this. And eventually he noticed a group of people called aesthetic. So this implies us that back then, even before he became a Buddha, there were a group of people who searched for something. spiritual search. They search for. These people don't have family. They live as a homeless people. They dress differently. They meditate. They're moving from place to place. Try to experiment. Spiritual experiment. Want to discover something, especially life about life after death, about what happened beyond that point. There were people doing this even before, Prince Siddhartha went out and start practice meditation. And many of them. That's why there are many schools of thought. There are many teaching that teach about life, teach about how to be fully liberated. Okay, so he kept that in mind, that information. Okay, so this information also good to know, because most people said this is one of the main reason why Prince Siddhartha decided to leave the palace. His first suffering, he noticed is here when he was 7. Okay, and when he grew up as a young prince, he noticed even more suffering in the world. This is a direct experience. So he accumulated those information. At the age of 29, he decided, okay, I'm going to find an answer for something. He didn't even know what he was looking for. He has no idea. He just felt like, well, there must be some solution for something that I have been worried about in my life. Worry about this. But he didn't know what he will find. He didn't know whether he can find the answer or not. But his inner calling that he should go out and seek for the solution. And he thinking of this solution. This is hope. If he become ascetic, this way of life give him hope to find an answer, not the life in the palace. And then he left. First thing he did was looking for the teacher. He cannot, figure it out by his own because he didn't know what to do. But in that spiritual market, there are only two prominent teachers, well-known teachers. The first one is Alanaka, and the second one is Udaka. These two well-known teachers, teach meditation. They are great meditators. They teach meditation. So Prince Siddhartha start from here. He went there and learned from both of them. One person at a time, not two persons at the same time. So he finished the first teacher. He learned everything from him. Still not satisfying. Cannot find the answer. So he went on searching to the second teacher. He also complete all the knowledge from both teachers, but still he was not satisfying. Couldn't find the answer. So meditation alone cannot help us to end of suffering. They teach meditation, but that kind of meditation cannot take Prince Siddhartha to end suffering, to find the whole solution for this question. So he was not satisfied. That's why he went out and moved on. He find another group of ascetic. These 5 ascetic. So he stayed with them, torture himself. These 5 ascetic took care of him. Panchavakhi. So he spent time with them 6 years. During this time, from 29 to 35, that's what happened here. 6 years. 6 years of doing that and attain nothing. He attained nothing. Eventually he stopped. He said, that's it. I'm going to went on for my own. He left these 5 ascetics and he practiced by himself. So he recalled his first experience when he was 7 years old. That, hey, how come that time I felt very good about my own practice, my own meditation? But how come in the past 6 years, during these 5-6 years, I was not satisfying. I torture myself. I follow everything, what my teacher told me to do. He do his best, but still, again, couldn't find the answer. So he stopped and he practiced by himself, and eventually he attained enlightenment, full enlightenment. He became the Buddha. And he worked for 45 years before he passed away. And he died at the 80s. That's the end of the story. 45 years of hard-working life. Practice 6 years and work 45 years. So the word Buddha, what does it mean? Can anyone become a Buddha or cannot? The Buddha is an honorific name, honorific title, okay? Just like President. You think of Mr. President of the United States, Donald Trump, George W. Bush, Barack Obama. Okay, it's just the title, the honorific title. If you qualify, you can become president. Same thing. If you qualify, you can become a Buddha. The question is, how can you qualify to be called Buddha or to be called Mr. President? If you want to be, and then there is a way to become that person. So the Buddha literally means the awakened one. The awakened one, or the one who knows. Awakened from what? Awakened from ignorance, from unknown person to the person who knows what has been unknown. So now he knows. So he awake. Not only he awake, okay, he also awake people too. That's why many of his students, 10 Arahant, okay, become an awakeful people. And Buddha is awakened person, okay, and he awake from ignorance. But for us, normal human being, we are a person who is still asleep. You may wondering, how come I asleep? I'm awake now. We are still asleep, okay? We have no idea who we are. We have no idea about the true nature of life. But these people who have gone through this self-development, they are fully awake of ignorance. They know the true nature of things. They know the true nature of life. He's the awakened one, and that's the Buddha. So, as you can see from this story, Buddha is just a man. He is not superhuman being. He's just ordinary person just like us. So he got himself curious about life. To become a Buddha, one thing for sure, here, I don't know if you notice that, Prince Siddhartha has a very keen sense of observation. He has a very good eyes to observe himself, observe things around him. Without good observation, he wouldn't be able to notice something called suffering. You see the bird devouring the worm. Many people feel nothing. You see dead people, you see old people, you see people die every day. You see people get sick every day. Even you yourself get sick. And you yourself get old. Have you noticed something? Have you realized something from that phenomenon that you see in your daily basis? This happened 2,500 years ago. So this man, has a very keen sense of observation. He observed, how come I didn't feel happy of what I noticed, what I realized, what I saw? Can we escape that phenomenon? There's one sutra, the Buddha talked to the monks that the reason he left his luxury life, he said, before I enlightenment, I seek for something that's subject to sickness, death. This is before I enlightenment. I search for this. I search for pleasurable. That's before he become enlightenment. And he said, if you are looking for something called the noble search, not this direction. The monks asked him, what would be the noble search? What would be the noble life? You need to look for something opposite. Whatever stand on this side, this is noble. If you let yourself follow this path, you search ignoble path. You become an ignoble people. So if you think deeper, what exactly that stand on this side, opposite from old, sick and dead, what would be that thing? What do you think? Is there anything in the world that opposite to this nature of life? Is there any cure for all sickness and death? And that's what his intention when he left the palace. No, I'm not happy for what I have. I want to figure out how to fix this world's serious problem. For myself, for my family, for people I love. He didn't know what it was. And later on he found it. So after he became enlightenment, he teach the monk, you know what? I found it. I found a cure. The Four Noble Truths. The Four Noble Truths lead us to Nibbana. When you realize Nibbana, this thing cannot bother you no more. It stops bothering you. You are done. This is called the noble search. If you search for this direction, you are on the noble path. But ordinary people, most people in the world, we still asleep. We're not awake. That's why we follow this path. We search for things that's subject to falling apart. Something that old, sick, dead. He mentioned wife, kids, cows, slave, material things. Try to spend more time to accumulate things from this side, which the more you accumulate something that's subject to this, you will end up suffering. There's no way that you can free yourself from suffering. So you must follow the noble search for something that liberate yourself from this phenomenon. And that is called the Nibbana. We will not talk about the concept of Nibbana today, but just give you the information of what happened. Okay, so he noticed suffering, and he noticed something called aesthetic, and that's the trigger. When someone noticed that, hey, this is suffering, I'm not happy with that, and that's become his turning point to look for the answer. If he's able to enjoy that princely life, sensual pleasure, he will not leave the palace and looking for the answer. But because noticing that life is suffering, noticing the true nature of life in this particular area, this is the trigger. Plus, he found that, hey, there is something called aesthetic, and that kind of life may be able to give me, the solution to find the answer of this problem. What is the trigger that you become a monk? People back then ordained because they want to free themselves from suffering. They see what the Buddha see, that life is suffering. We are subject to this. And then they follow the Buddha teaching. I want to find this. They become the Buddha follower. They ordain. But many monks maybe not ordained for this reason. Do you really see yourself suffering? Do you really want to get out of this cycle of existence? Okay? If so, happy for you. You're on your way. If not, what is it that you're looking for? Okay? You ask yourself this question a little bit deeper. What have we learned from the story of Prince Siddhartha besides this general information? He was a man. He noticed that life is suffering. He went on searching. He went to two teachers. He went experiments, and then eventually he becomes self-enlightenment. He becomes the Buddha. And then he spent 45 years teaching people, free people from suffering. The Buddha said, people who see Buddha see the Dhamma. People who see the Dhamma see the Buddha. That means if you study the Buddha story deeper, you understand the Dhamma. Okay? Why did he leave the palace? How did he achieve his goal? And what exactly that he discovered? So this kind of question keep on asking yourself when you study the life of the Buddha. Okay? So I want to mention at least three things from this story. There are three values. Okay? The first one is renunciation. What is renunciation? How come this person decided to live, life in the palace? This is the best life that a man can dream of. You born prince, money, power, fame, you name it. Come on, you're on top of the world. How come he decided to renounce everything behind? Not because he has nothing to do. He has a lot of distress or stressful life. No, he has everything, enjoyable, pleasurable life, and then he become aesthetic. He become homeless. Many people become a monk because have problem in life. Maybe broken family, broken heart, business was not good, so I want to become a monk. But not his case. That's not Prince Siddhartha's reason. He had everything, he still wants to become a monk. He still wants to renounce the world. He left everything behind. So you must learn from his renunciation. Okay? Get yourself curious. Why did he decided to renounce the world? Renunciation. The thing of Prince Siddhartha, when he was young, there was a bird that eating the worm and then got himself thinking, and animal eat animal. This is something he was not happy about it. But many people didn't even think of that direction. Okay, so he renounced the world because of this is the particular main reason, okay, that got him thinking about the true nature of life, that life is suffering. People said anybody who can realize that life is suffering, okay, you have a very keen mind, because this phenomenon is very subtle. It's difficult to observe. You think about it, okay? Is it easy to observe suffering? As a matter of fact, it's not. But for himself, he was able to understand that phenomenon and got himself thinking, and then he started to figure out how to take care of that problem. So he left everything behind. Second one, let's move on. What about loving kindness and compassion? This is one of the quality of Prince Siddhartha. The first one, he has a very good eye, very good observation skill. That's why he renounced the world. The second one, his loving kindness and compassion. This is amazing. As a kid, 7 years old, he feels sympathy. He feels sympathy to the worm that got eaten by the bird. I was not feeling good about it. And one time, his cousin Thevatat, they were young, they ran into the park, and then Thevatat shoot the swan, okay, like the beautiful bird, by his arrow. So he shoot the swan fell off the tree, and Prince Siddhartha ran faster. He got to the swan first, and he hold the swan, okay, and he would not allow Thevatat to take the swan from him. So they went seek for the solution. And then finally they come to the conclusion that people who save life or protect life deserve to have that swan, not people who try to take away of life. This is how two young boys have different mindset. Okay, he was very sympathy to suffering of even animal, and later on, as a Buddha, if you remember some of the story talking about the monks called Tissa. Tissa monk was very sick. He almost died. He was alone. No one took care of him. Once the Buddha noticed that one of his monks, his follower, not feeling well and extremely sick, the Buddha went there by himself, take a bath, give him the clean clothes, dress him up, took care of him, and be with him until he died. And he said, if we don't take care of one another, who will take care of us? Because renunciation means you leave everything behind. You leave family. You have no father, mother. You have no wife, no kids, no possession whatsoever. What you have left is the Sangha, is your monk's brother. That's why he encouraged everyone to take care of each other. So the story of Prince Siddhartha is a very good story. This shows the Buddha's sympathy. He took care of his monk's fellow very well. And that's loving kindness. And another story, if you remember, at the 49th day of his enlightenment, he realized that it's so difficult for an ordinary people to understand what he discovered. It's very profound. The Dhamma is very deep. If I don't teach, the world will, continue in the circle of suffering for a very long time. With sympathy, with loving kindness, with compassion. That's why he started teaching. Okay, there may be some people who are smart enough to understand what he discovered. Okay, it's better than nothing. It's better than not teaching. That's why he decided to teach. And the third one is his wisdom. His wisdom. When you hear the word wisdom in Buddhism, what do you think of? Wisdom in Buddhism? There are three kinds of wisdom, right? Learned wisdom, and wisdom from reflection, and wisdom from meditation. Buddhism gives high emphasis on wisdom from meditation. Okay, not just learn. When you learn Dhamma, you know nothing, you start learning. You learning the Dhamma, you get knowledge. Okay, that's good, perfect. Buddha said, no, don't stop there. Think of what you learn, reflect on that. You learn about 5 precepts. Okay, how can it benefit me? Okay, you think of what you learn. That's the second wisdom that happened to you. And then last one, put everything that you learn into meditation practice, mindfulness practice. Because this is very important. There are two levels of meditation in Buddhism. Meditation that he learned from Alanaka and Uttaka Dabot stop here at the first level. It's called calming meditation or samatha. Calming meditation or samatha. The meditation that still the mind. Okay, and the second meditation is called insight meditation, okay, or vipassana. This is what Buddha wants us to experience. Insight meditation. Okay. That's why he said meditation alone will not help you to be able completely end suffering. You need to go to this level, the insight meditation. This meditation will, free you from suffering, the cycle of suffering. You think of when you sharpening the pencil. This is the pencil. When you sharpen the pencil, why did you do that? Why you sharpen the pencil? Because you want it to be able to write it well, right? That's why you sharpen it. Otherwise, you wouldn't do anything about sharpening the pencil. Same thing in meditation. Meditation, the first level, you sharp your pencil. Sharp forward, so you can use it. Now you sharpen your mind forward to access the higher wisdom inside meditation. But you have to start from here. You sharp it first. Okay, there are 40 techniques that help you to calm the mind down in Visuddhimagga. 40 techniques. And then, eventually you will get to this level. Once you have this level of wisdom, okay, you're on your way to be fully liberated. Okay, you're on your way to free yourself from suffering. That is why meditation and wisdom go together. Without meditation, there's no wisdom. Without wisdom, there's no meditation. Okay, these two things go together all the time. But you have to know that there are two kinds. Okay, two kinds of meditation, and this is something that the Buddha emphasized. Okay, two more points. There are many values of learning the story of Prince Siddhartha. Okay, I want you to dig deeper on your own, so you can get the most out of the story of the Buddha before he ordained and after he ordained. What happened in these 45 years? How can we understand, the mindset or the attitude of the Buddha or the Buddhism standing point? Buddhism or the teaching of the Buddha is the doctrine of the truth, the true nature of things, discovered by human being, not by super being. His knowledge comes from his direct experience that he experienced about life before he ordained and after he ordained. This happened because of his own direct experience toward the true nature of things. So we can say Buddhism teaches about what is what, from unknown to known. It's the religions that talk about what is what is suffering, what causes suffering, how to end suffering, okay, and what is the way that take us to end our own suffering. It talks about the true nature of things. Everything that the Buddha discovered, he discovered from his own observation. His life, his physical body, his mind, and the nature around him. That's where he learned. He did not take class anywhere. There was no library. In that 6 years, he spent most of the time with a few teachers and the rest by himself. And then he became the Buddha. Where did he get knowledge from? From here. There was no book to read, right? No one to talk to, not many people. Most of the time he do nothing but meditate. The question is, what kind of meditation? What exactly that he did? That's something I want all the monks to get curious. And you know what? There's so many information, very rich information talking about calming meditation, of how to do it, how to calm the mind down in that 40 technique. But there are very few information that teach us how to do vipassana meditation. Vipassana meditation is very unclear. There's no method laid out clearly in the Buddhist text. Step 1, you do this. Step 2, you do this. Step 3, you do this. And then you will find that and find this. No, there's no such thing in the Buddhist text. And that's why many people talk about vipassana. You need to get yourself question, where did they learn vipassana? What exactly vipassana means, in the eyes of the Buddha? What exactly that he practiced? So get yourself curious. So Buddhism is about what is what. And the second point is Buddhism, or the teaching or the attitude of the Buddha when he starts teaching, is practical. Okay, very practical. Everything that the Buddha teach, all human beings must be able to practice. It's nothing you cannot practice. His teaching is supposed to be very simple, direct, and powerful. Simple, direct, and powerful. These are the characteristics of the Buddha teaching, and provable. If nothing you can prove, that's not his teaching. Okay, it must be very practical. One of the sutra that the Buddha taught, spelled like this. This monk Malunkkaya, you can check Malunkkaya Sutra. This monk asked the Buddha all kind of questions that the Buddha was not very enthusiastic to answer. He said, if the Buddha did not answer this question, I will disrobe. He came to the Buddha with that kind of attitude. You know what did he ask the Buddha? He asked the Buddha, what is the origin of the universe? Is the world finite or infinite? Is the world eternal or not? That kind of question. Is the body and the mind the same? Okay, very metaphysical question. The Buddha was not very much interested or enthusiastic to answer that kind of question. So he gave the Malunkkaya monks an answer that shut him off. He said, you know what? This kind of question will take you nowhere. You should prioritize your duty as a human being. Ask the right question. He compared that, he used the parable that he talked about the man who got shot by the arrow to the back by the arrow. If you got shot, someone shot you with the arrow, you have the arrows stuck in your back, what would you do? You should right away take yourself to the doctor, right? To have the arrow removed. Fix the wound first. But people in this world, most of them do opposite. He wants to know who shot me, which direction, why did he shoot me, what kind of material that the arrow made from, is that wood or bones or steel? Try to figure out that answer before he get himself to the doctor or hospital. He may die first before he has a chance to see the doctor. That's happened to Malunkkaya monk. At the end of that teaching, he surrendered. He don't want to waste his time try to figure out that question to be fully answered and continue his ordination. He seek the answer, and if the Buddha did not answer, I will disrobe. So eventually he understand. Okay, all of us we in the same situation. He said suffering is the greatest danger of the world, but we don't know that because we don't have a great sense of observation, just like Prince Siddhartha. We don't even aware that life is suffering. We accept life the way it is. That, oh, okay, I'm born, I'm getting old, I'm getting sick, and eventually I'm dying. That's it. But smart people think differently. There must be a way out. There must be a solution for all kind of problems. And he's the one who found that answer for mankind. It's not only benefit him, it benefit his whole family and benefit the whole world, including us. Eventually all of these people attain Arahant. His father, his aunt, not his mom, his son as well. Okay, his mom died and reborn in the fourth level of heaven. Eventually Buddha paid visit. Okay, he attained Sodapatana level. See, everyone benefit from his enlightenment, but we don't realize that Buddha said suffering is the greatest danger of the world, and he find out what caused us suffering, and he find out the way to end that suffering. And that's what he shared with us. So his core teaching or his core discovery is about what caused us suffering and how can we free ourselves from suffering. Even though he can answer all the questions of Malunkkaya monk, but he did not. Many times the Buddha not engaged in metaphysical question because not only it doesn't benefit anybody, because most of that kind of question cannot provable by human sense. How can we prove that when did the universe exist? You can talk, but you cannot prove. The Buddha is not very much engaged in that kind of question. Instead, he's talking about something that you can realize, you can relate it to, something that you can practice. Suffering, everyone can relate it to. Okay, that's why I know Four Noble Truths, something that he really emphasized on that people can somehow relate it to. Okay, I'm getting old, I'm getting die, because of this that caused me suffering. If you do this, that suffering will disappear. And the third one, I think this one very important. It's about self Realization. There is no such thing called must in Buddhism. You must believe? No. And some religions do. Buddha never said, no, you must follow my teaching. You must do this, you must do that. No. Everything that you do, please make sure it comes from your direct experience. And then you do. One of the very well-known sutra called Kalama Sutra. Check this out. This is very well-known sutra that many Buddhist scholars around the world reference back to this. They were amazed how come the Buddha talked about this 2,500 years ago. As you know, back then many people provide the teaching, okay, about spiritual development. There are many teachers. So in this particular place, okay, where Kalama people live, this place happened to be a very quite unique place. That it's like the place where people go to. There is the forest behind that area. People usually go through this village first before they enter that area to practice meditation. So when they finish practicing, they come out, they have to pass this village. So that's why this place is very crowded with all great thinkers, all scholars, all people who know a lot of things. So when people come in and go out all the time, they meet, they talk, and then they talk to Kalama people in this village that, you know what, this is the good teaching, you should believe me. Oh, my teaching or my teacher is better, you should believe me. So people start sharing what they know, and then they bluff each other. So Kalama people get confused. Which one should I believe? What kind of teaching is the truth, is true? So they got confused. So one time the Buddha passed by this direction. Then he stopped this village. So they have a chance to ask the Buddha a question. And many teaching happened in this particular place. These people were very smart. So the teaching that the Buddha gave to this kind of people, not superficial. If you use this keyword and search for the sutta that related to Kalama people, you find very many interesting discourse. They asked the Buddha, which one should I believe? How do I know what kind of teaching is good or is true? Buddha give them a very simple. There's no such thing called much. You don't just believe what people tell you. You don't just believe from what you read. You don't just right away believe from what I tell you or what you hear. No. And when should I believe? Whenever you realize by yourself, then you believe. Realize what? When you realize that is it harmful or is it beneficial, then you believe, then you practice. Let's say if you get angry or you have greed in your mind, what happens if you take action with that kind of mind condition that bring you suffering and distress, disturbance mind, suffering follow. But if you think without greed, without anger, these things follow. Okay, happiness and peace follow, and then you realize, oh, this is good. Okay, once you realize by yourself, you don't need to ask, is this teaching is good? Is that teaching is good or bad? Because you already prove it by yourself. And Buddha even mentioned that, don't believe because I am a Buddha. Don't believe every word I said. No, he said, prove it yourself. Not many teachers are brave enough to say that. Most teachers said, believe me, follow me, then you will be okay. And Buddha said, no, prove it by yourself. All right, we almost done. There are three kinds of defilement, as we know, right? If you look at these three characteristics that we learned from the Buddha: renunciation, loving kindness, and wisdom. Renunciation is the antidote for tanha or desire, defilement or mental impurity. Without renunciation, okay, you would not be able to get rid of tanha or desire or greed. But you decided, hey, you know what? I should follow the aesthetic life. I should leave everything behind. Otherwise, I will be trapped in the world of desire. And that is why renunciation is the antidote for desire. That's why I like to congratulate you. You on your way to get rid of or fighting with this first defilement. Look at yourself today and before you ordain. Think back of your house. How many clothes do you have? How many shoes do you have? How many computer, phone do you have? And now you have 3 pieces of this. You're allowed to have 3. You have 1 shoe, you have water flask, you have flashlight, pretty much it. Then you can survive. That's why renunciation gives you a benefit of, tackle this problem, desire. The second one, loving kindness, okay? It helps you to attack something called the ill will, okay? Hatred. Ill will. Anger. This is a good medicine for anger. So as a monk, we should every day practice loving kindness and compassion, okay? By the way, what's the difference between loving kindness and compassion? What is loving kindness in the eyes of the Buddha? What he means by loving kindness? This is very deep. Many people don't get to that level. Don't harm people. That's very superficial of definition of the loving kindness. Okay, in the eyes of Buddhism, loving kindness is much deeper than that. The Buddha compared loving kindness to the heart of mother that loves her children. She would sacrifice or do whatever it takes, okay, to please her children. She would sacrifice her meal. If there's the last meal that she has, she's happy to give to her child. And that's in loving kindness. If you think of everyone here is your brother, real brother, you would willing to give whatever you have to make sure that your brother is happy. Money, blanket, books, whatever help he needs, you would right away give him hands. And that's his loving kindness, okay? Loving kindness, if we think of people, okay, in the better way, in the positive way, in a not harming way, okay, start from there. But compassion, a little bit different. Compassion is you actually give people a hand. Loving kindness is just the level of thinking. Okay, I wish you happy, but I don't do anything. I just sit here. I wish you good. I don't harm you, but I do nothing either. But compassion is you actually walk to and give yourself a hand. Okay, here's food, here's money. What else do you need? Okay, you take action. So they're not the same. With this practice, it helps us, okay, to eradicate or to fight with hatred mind, ill will. So every day, every time you meditate, you share loving kindness, wish people happy. At the same time, whenever you have a chance, you help people, show your compassion. And wisdom, very important. Wisdom is the antidote for what? For avijja, delusion or ignorance. Without wisdom, we cannot free ourselves from ignorance. Even though we may be able to get rid of this greed, ill will, but it's not permanent. It's not permanent. Without having this, okay, this still exists. These 2 things still exist. Just like you cut down the trees, but you cut only the top part. The roots still here. Okay, greed and ill will can be removed, but the delusion or avijja, ignorance still exists. Eventually, these 3 grow back. So you have to find a way to uproot it. Uproot what? Uproot this guy. By what? By wisdom. What kind of wisdom? Okay, we have gone through that. Learn, reflect, meditate. Go to calming meditation, go to insight meditation, and eventually you will be fully liberated. And it takes you to know what is what. When you know what is what, okay, this thing caused me suffering. You know the cause and you know the cure. So you take care of this, you uproot it. So these 3 guys completely eradicate, and then you are free. We will continue next session about this area. Okay, Sadhu.